Good morning, everyone. We're so excited to have Arlene Lechner and Melissa Hochberg here with us today from EASE. EASE stands for Empowerment, Advocacy, and Sexual Education. We're so happy to have you both. This is such an important topic and also a difficult one for everyone to talk about, especially with our kiddos from who have disabilities. So thank you both for being here, and I will let you get started.
Okay, well, thank you to the ARC of Northern Virginia, and thank you, Diane, for having us.
I am going to share my screen and we are going to be talking about how to talk with your children of all ages about consent, boundaries, relationships, and sex education. So, as Diane said, I am Arlene Lechner, and this is Melissa Hochberg above me, wherever she is on your screen. We are co-founders of EASE. We are based in Northern Virginia. We have masters in special education. We have 20 plus years teaching people of all abilities. We have experience in the academic, social, and rec settings. We have worked with people ages 18 months, and our oldest was 82 years old. We are mental health first aid certified, and we are human sexuality educators trained through Elevatus.
So, the Ease story, I was running the Going Places Social Club for individuals with level one autism at the JCC, Poses JCC, and Arlene was running a parent networking group while the children were attending social skills classes. And people kept saying, where can we get sex ed and where can we get this information for our children of all ages? So after a quick 2-year search, I found Elevatus training and I was trained and asked Arlene to join me. We launched EASE in 2020 and we are now teaching classes 22 through 24. We created the EASE curriculum with a grant through the innovation program at JMU. We teach teen classes that are 12 weeks, adult 16-week classes. It's all online. We teach at private schools, group homes, and more. And we offer online training for staff and all different educational opportunities. And what makes EASE unique is that we personalize scenarios and handouts for the students we are teaching. We use language and teaching strategies specific to the class needs, and we collaborate and consult with parents and any supports that the individual may have.
So with every, excuse me, with every class and with every workshop we do what's called a group agreement. So we say what's said on Zoom stays on Zoom. All feelings and opinions are okay, especially on this topic. Please ask questions, show respect to everyone, and we listen and learn together. And this creates a safe space so that people can ask questions.
And if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat or into the Q&A. So why is it important to talk about relationships and sex education? Because it's important for everyone to learn and have sex education and gain the advocacy skills. It's important to be able to make safe and healthy choices and for everyone to see themselves as sexual beings.
So we're so glad you're here. So it's great to be that you're being proactive versus reactive about sex education. We know talking about sex can be challenging, and so we're here to help. Sex ed does not give permission to have sex. There's research out there that says the more educated a person is, they will delay having sex, the age that they have sex, or they will have practice safer sex. People with intellectual and developmental disabilities can make informed and healthy choices. And parents, you're here so you can gain confidence to begin and continue these conversations on consent, boundaries, relationships, and sex ed. And when we talk, EASE teaches facts. So we're going to teach facts and how to have the conversations with facts, but it's up to the parents to teach morals and values.
So each ease teaches facts again and common values, including consent, respect in relationships, and equity in relationships. And again, parents share their family's morals and values.
So why do you need to teach sex ed? Because people with disabilities have sexual feelings and needs, and this is healthy and normal. People with disabilities are curious. They have a right to have a relationship, no matter disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And people with disabilities need the comprehensive, accessible, trauma-informed education that they may not get otherwise. And they need this to enjoy safe and healthy relationships.
So when we talk about relationships, we teach what's healthy and what's unhealthy. And so that green light for go for healthy relationships and red light stop for unhealthy. And the healthy relationships, we want to make sure everybody understands about respect, and you should be able to laugh and have fun and be happy in the relationship and feel safe. Consent and boundaries, open communication, building trust with honesty, and you feel comfortable. And it's okay to have arguments. They just need to be fair. And what is a compromise and how to compromise, and build on common interest, and that everybody is responsible for their actions.
So what happens if you don't share the information? Well, your child may still have a sexual relationship. They may receive information from uninformed sources. Your child may not be able to advocate for themselves. They may be confused or afraid of what's happening or what happened to their body. They could be abused and then not know who to tell or who to go to or what to say. They could become pregnant or get a sexually transmitted infection, or they could engage in unlawful behavior such as child pornography, sexting, or an illegal relationship.
So we all received messages at some point, or didn't receive messages about relationships and sex ed. So maybe growing up, you didn't have any sex education. Maybe you were given a book to read. Maybe you learned from the locker room, or you heard things on the bus or in the hallway, or maybe your friends had older siblings and you got the information that way. Maybe you were lucky and you had parents who told you everything and were approachable, or you had parents who said, don't ask, and weren't approachable. Maybe you learned some things in family life education or health class. Maybe you were taught abstinence only, no sex until married. The information wasn't trauma informed and may have been based on religious beliefs.
So, in addition to maybe not getting the sex education, there are several barriers that we know that it's hard to talk about sex and consent and boundaries and relationships. So maybe a barrier is that you had a negative message or no message about sex growing up. And sometimes it's hard, but to set aside your own values and just listen. There's constant changing terminology, especially with gender and slang. Maybe you're embarrassed and afraid that what if I say the wrong thing or I say the at the wrong time? Will my child understand what is being taught? Maybe you're afraid that if I talk about it, it's just going to put ideas in their mind and it's going to lead them to having sex. Or maybe you're just unsure of what to say or how to talk about, and it's just easier to say nothing.
So, when talking about sex, it's really important to uh, talk about the biological age content. So, even if you have a 32-year-old, but they're on a 14-year-old level, you still need to talk about what they need to know as a 32-year-old. And you need to have information that cognitively is appropriate to teach the age appropriate information. And you know the best way your child learns, whether it's listening, watching a video, looking at a book, and then also how the information will affect your child. And if your child has experienced any trauma, then that needs to be taken into consideration. And then the best time and place to share the information. So the car is an ideal place to have many of these conversations because you are in the car, no one can leave, you don't have to look at each other. And your face might get all red, and that's okay. Your kids might be rolling their eyes, and you can't see that either. But no one can go anywhere, and you keep the conversation going.
And other good places to have these conversations. You don't have to just sit down at the kitchen table and say, let's have the conversation. Maybe you're watching a TV show and you see consent, or you see a couple and you can say, is this a healthy relationship or unhealthy relationship? A lot of the Disney movies or any movies that you're watching show consent. We show a clip from Frozen where I think it's Kristoff is asking Anna or Elsa for consent. And so to kiss her. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can bring up those conversations. But the car, such a good place. And then talking about relationships and sex ed. So when you're talking, think about giving a positive message. You want to answer with facts, right? That's the one thing that we will teach is how to answer with facts. And you want to verify understanding.
So there's a cute story of this little girl, Elise, and she comes home from school one day, and her mom is unpacking groceries and baking cupcakes for the bake sale and doing all these things. And Elise says, Mom, where did I come from? And her mother's thinking, I didn't expect this question now. I don't know how to answer this. Oh my goodness. And so she jumps in and starts to talk about the egg from the female and the sperm from the male. And when they meet, you can have a baby. And then she looks at her daughter and said, did that answer your question? And the daughter has this very confused look on her face. And she said, well, this girl came to our class today and she said she just moved here from Rochester and I couldn't remember where we moved from. So all she had to say is, oh, that's a good question. Why are you asking that? And she could have said, oh, we moved from Syracuse. And that would have answered her daughter's question. So it's really important to verify what the question is and why it's being asked.
It's also okay to answer later, be honest, say, I'm not sure. Let me find out the answer, but make sure you come back and answer that question. It's okay to feel embarrassed. It's important to use inclusive language so everyone sees themselves in the conversation. If it's important to use medical terminology. If you're going to the doctor, you're going to want to use medical terminology. You're not going to say, I hurt down there. What does down there mean? Your knee, your ankle, your vagina, your penis. You're going to want to use medical terminology. And if something happens, you also want to be able to your child to be able to explain in medical terminology what happened. Use specific language. So if you're not, you could say, oh, I'm so excited to have pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, but you're not going to say, I'm aroused to have pumpkin pie. And so you want to make sure that you're using a word that your child is going to understand, and that relates to what you're talking about. And if you are still trying to figure out how do I answer this question, you can always reach out to Ease, and we will give you our email address and phone number at the end of the presentation.
All right, so these are the topics that we talk about in our classes. These are all of the topics that we talk about in our classes. We cover everything. We leave nothing to the imagination, and we have a lot of fun.
Yes, this is the comprehensive list that is important for everyone to know.
And in each class, we say our mantra and we say it out loud together. My body is my own, and I decide what is right for me. And then we tie that in with consent, and we use this is from Planned Parenthood and Fry's, so that consent is freely given. No one is bribing or pushing you to do anything. It's reversible. You can change your mind. Informed, the more we learn, the more informed we are to make safe and healthy decisions. And you want to be enthusiastic or 100% sure. If you say no or if you say yes. And then the specifics are all of the details, the who, what, when, where, why, how much will it cost, how are we getting there, all of that.
So when we talk about relationships, we created a circle of relationships. We adapted this from the Vanderbilt Kennedy Center. And some of you may know the circle of relationships, but we created one that has romantic partner, family, friends, casual acquaintance, strangers, and community helpers. Community helpers may start as strangers, but they never get as close as a family or a romantic partner, because romantic partners, they're paid professionals, and we don't date paid or you shouldn't date paid professionals. And then the white in between each one is a boundary. So you're here, the people closest to you are your family, your romantic partner, and friends. And the further away you go, the less touch, or there's less or no touch, the conversation changes. And so it's important to talk about it. And if you sit down with your child and you write down these topics and have a conversation with them, who are the strangers that you might see? Who are acquaintances? Who are casual acquaintance? Who do you think is a friend? And this can help you know, first of all, what's going on in your child's life and the names of the people, but it also helps them understand the relationships with people that they see.
And we talk a lot about boundaries. So, boundaries are our limits, and they help us to feel okay and comfortable. And we talk about boundaries in terms of physical, emotional, and online boundaries.
And we also look at boundaries as what you're okay with and comfortable with and what you're not okay with. So when you're thinking about your boundaries, you set boundaries because it protects your feelings from being hurt. You share your boundaries to keep you safe. And when you share your boundaries, it lets people know how you like to be treated. And so we show here, I am in the middle, I'm okay, I'm comfortable. Here you are in your boundary and you're okay and comfortable. And that's with your physical, like the personal space, emotional, sharing your feelings, and your different online boundaries. And so here you're comfortable, and we have this boundary here in the middle. And the boundary in the middle here is when you start to feel uncomfortable. All right. So we talk about, okay, at 25 miles an hour, we all know, okay, if we're going 25 and the speed limit says 25, we're comfortable, we're good. But once we cross over that boundary of 25 miles an hour, we start to get uncomfortable. We could get a ticket. We need to make sure that we slow down and go back to that comfortable. So as somebody starts to move closer to us, maybe we're standing in line and they get too close and they cross over that boundary, we get uncomfortable and we need to let somebody know.
And again, with boundaries, comfortable or uncomfortable, it pulls in getting to know ourselves better. So, how my body feels, my heart, my brain. If I'm uncomfortable, my heart might be beating faster, my brain might be focused on how I'm feeling and the emotions I'm feeling. And realizing that when I'm comfortable, I feel okay and what my boundaries feel like. But if somebody's crossing my boundaries, I feel uncomfortable in what that feels like. So I know the difference and I know if I need to get some support to help me.
Public and private is also another really good topic to talk about. And so we talk about public as a place where there is more than one person. Anyone can go in and out. You may see and or hear other people, and people may see and or hear you. So we always show, the grocery store, school, all these different places, but we also show a park where one person is sitting. So they look like they're by themselves, but they're in a park and anyone can go in and out at any time. So that is still a public place. And then private is a place you can close and lock a door and be alone. No one comes in without permission, so there's consent. So if they want privacy and they close the door, you need to knock and be like, is it okay for me to come in, and wait for consent or no consent? And same with them. They need to be taught that if they see a door closed, they need to knock and wait to hear if there's consent or no consent to open the door. So that's important to distinguish public and private.
I want to just answer the question that was asked. Great question. We do have people take the class, students take the class and have parents sit or a support person sit off screen to help keep the person focused or be able to share information with them during the class on mute. And that's absolutely fine. Whatever each student needs to succeed and access the information works for us. Yes, absolutely welcome. So we talk about online safety and pornography. We talk about the positive and negative parts of social media. Great to see what people are doing, but you want to make sure you're not sharing personal information. We have a slide about Bark. We'll share that. And we have so many resources. There are ways to be safe online, but they really do need to be taught in an accessible way, which we do. We talk about pornography, what's legal, what's illegal, and why it is illegal. And it all ties into consent. And we have worked with Fairfax County detectives on a regular basis to gather our information on all of this, keep up with what's going on, and be able to safely inform our students and their carers. We talk about photos, privacy settings, why clicking on ads can be dangerous, all of that information. And if you want, you can take a picture of this. These are websites. NetSmarts used to be the children, missing children on the milk cartons, and now it has evolved, and it is called, Arlene, I never remember the name.
NCMEC, the National Council for Missing and Exploited Children.
Children. And they also have a website, missingkids.org. And then there's a couple books that we recommend: Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Porn Proofing Today's Young Kids, which talks about how porn affects your brain. And then another book is called First Phone, which is has a lot of really useful information, very parent friendly.
Very parent friendly and good for all ages. Sorry, it's backwards, but it's First Phone, and it's like it says by Catherine Perlman. It has contracts for you and your children, but it also has good starting points on how to have conversations and how to start the conversations. When we talk about pornography, we describe it as porn. It's sexually explicit media, and that includes pictures, magazines, anime, websites, movies, and videos, and that there are sexual body parts and sex acts and sexually suggestive bodies, and that porn is made for sexual arousal. We talk in our class about how porn is fantasy and not real life. And so it's a good thing, it's a way to distinguish between porn and what real relationships look like.
And viewing pornography of actors, and they're generally paid actors, over the age of 18 is legal. But viewing pornography of children under the age of 18 is illegal. So it's against the law and leads to involvement with law enforcement. And child porn is image-based sexual abuse of children.
So another key message is that everything online is public, everything. So on anything on your device, an app that you post, information you put in on your devices, everything online is public. So we talk about making sure you think before you send. Is it going to be okay for your mom or the principal of the school or your employer if you work, or your grandmother, is it going to be okay for them to see something that you put on your device?
And this is Bark. So this is highly recommended by everyone. And you can get Bark phones, and then they have a website. You can learn about all of their information. And then Bark also has a Facebook page called Parenting in a Tech World. And it's a lot, so you might want to look at it in small doses. But if you have questions, if your child of any age has an app on their phone and you can't figure out what it is, you can ask on this page and you'll get the straight answer. And there's another page that we really like called Officer Gomez. and he's actually an police officer, and he offers a lot of excellent suggestions and support.
So another topic when talking about sex education is the body parts and how you care for your body. So it's important to describe the private sexual body parts and what they do, body changes that happen during puberty, whether your child is going to go through it, has gone through it, or is going through it right now. A lot of times they didn't learn, and so they didn't know what happened to their body. Um, Menstruation, ejaculation, and orgasm, sexual feelings, and what happens, when you get sexual feelings in public versus, what you can do with sexual feelings in private, and then hygiene and caring for your body.
We talk about dating and relationships and how important communication is. And we talk about questions to ask, how to have those conversations, where to meet safely, always in public, and let someone know what you're doing and where you're going. First dates, what to consider. We talk about observe, linger, look, and stalk, and what that looks like and feels like. Crush, the differences between crush, love, and lust. Having disagreements and what is a compromise. And then, should I stay or should I go in the relationship, and ways to handle that. And another excellent book is called Boyfriends and Girlfriends Guide to Dating for People with Disabilities by Terry Cohenhoven.
So with any relationship and lots of things in life, decision making is very challenging. And so we talk about three types of decisions: when you don't make a decision and what happens, when you make a snap or a snap or a quick decision or a small decision, like what am I going to have for breakfast or what am I going to wear in the morning, or thoughtful decisions like am I going to go to college? Am I going to go to work? Or what are my other options? Where am I going to live? What type of relationship do I want with a person? Do I want to continue a relationship? Those are thoughtful decisions. And when we talk about thoughtful decisions, we say that's when you need to talk it through with a safe person or a person close to you. And we use a decision-making process with using a pro and con list. And it's important to walk through. So like if you were buying a car and you did a pro and con list, it's really good to show your child, here's how we did the pro and con list and how we make a decision. So they have an idea of how to use different decision-making processes.
First, I'm going to apologize. I'm having work done on my roof, and I'm not sure if you can hear it or not, but that's why I'm muting. Sorry. It was supposed to be done. So when we get into the nitty-gritty, we talk about sexual acts, birth control, STIs, and the 3 sex acts: oral sex, anal sex, and vaginal sex. We talk about the medical terms. As Arlene said earlier, it's so important to know what the medical terms are for all of our body parts. But then it's also important to know the slang, because if someone is talking to your child, they're probably not going to use medical terms. So we do talk about the slang, which is always fun. And then we, of course, talk about consent and boundaries, setting boundaries and understanding our boundaries there. We talk about birth control, just the types. And birth control is used to prevent pregnancy and STIs. And again, only facts. Families teach their morals and values. And STIs, they used to be called STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and they are now called sexually transmitted infections. This was about 6, 7 years ago, there was the change, because STIs can be managed. They can either be managed with medication or with antibiotics, they can be healed. So we talk about the different types of STIs and the symptoms, different ways to have protection, and then what the testing is like and different places to get tested. Just facts.
And with birth control, it's important that we let people know when we teach that they need to go to the doctor and they need to talk to a family member. When you talk about birth control with your child, that's when you can bring in what you want, what you want your child to do and what your values are with any of these.
So, how to answer questions that are difficult, challenging, awkward? Are you kidding? Really? No way, but very serious and important.
So one way to answer a question, I'm sure you've heard about teachable moments. So teachable moments, you can answer, what is a condom or how are babies made? So your child comes up, how are babies made? Take a deep breath and be like, okay, I can do this, right? And say, it's good to ask a question, clarify, that's that verify what is being asked. Choose the message you want to give. Again, go positive. Use the medical terminology. Give very short, sweet answers to start. Ask for feedback to ensure that they are understanding. And then, did I answer your questions and do you have more? So, for example, if they say, how are babies made? You do that deep breath. I'm so glad you came to me to ask questions. That shows you're approachable. You want them to continue asking. Verify. So why are you asking? Or where did you hear this question? It could be from a movie or a friend, or they were reading a book. Choose the message you want to give, and then use medical terminology. Keep it short and sweet, matter of a fact. So very short answer. If an egg from a person with a vulva and a sperm from a person with a penis meet, a pregnancy may happen. And they then ask for feedback. Did this answer your question? No? Okay, now you can add more details, just adding little bits of information at a time. And then at the end, do you have any more questions? And again, if you are having difficulty and say, you know what, I'm not sure how to continue this, say, hold on, I need to talk to Melissa and Arlene and they can help me. Or we have some resources we're going to share with you that will have some other ways that you can answer the question.
Another way to answer questions is the Scarborough method, and Winifred Kempton was an early advocate of making sure people with disabilities had safe and accurate information. So she developed this method with three aspects: physical, social, emotional. So, physical, what is it? What are the physical parts? Social, is it something you do in private, not in private? Are there any laws? And emotional, the feelings connected. So, for example, what is a condom? So physically, it's made of latex. It's put on an erect penis, and there's an opening at one end like a sock. The social aspect is using a condom is done in private, and it protects you and your partner from pregnancy and or STIs. And the emotional is that many people feel good when they use condoms because then they worry less about pregnancy and STIs.
And they can also, a way to answer what is consent using the Scarborough method. So physically with consent, both people agree. And it can be where to eat, what movie to watch. Do we hold hands, hug, kiss, cuddle? Do we cuddle with our clothes on or off? Do we both consent or agree to engage in a sex act? The social is you use body language and or words, and you use them to give consent or not. And emotional, you ask or and listen for consent. And that is a healthy relationship when you ask and listen and respect. And then consent helps you feel respected and safe. And these are also self-advocacy and sexual self-advocacy skills when you're talking about consent. All right, let's see.
Do we
This
have time?
I think
I
so.
think so.
So one of these, this is the National Council for Independent Living, and they do oh no,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's sex ed for people with IDD. They do a handful of videos, and we think they're great, so we're going to show this.
Sex ed for people with IDD. Thanks for watching.
Thanks everyone for watching our video.
Disability does not take away your sexuality. It's yours.
People with disabilities are sexual beings.
That means that we all have different sexual orientations or expressions.
Our desires are as varied as our bodies and minds, and is awesome.
Sex can be pleasurable, and sexuality is a natural way of human life.
Masturbation is a great way to learn about your body and its pleasurabilities.
It's natural and it's healthy.
You have the right to be in a healthy relationship.
And you and your partner or partners have the right to end that relationship.
No one has the right to harm you, and if they do, tell someone you trust.
You can protect yourself from STD and protect yourself from unwanted pregnancy with condom, contraceptive, and knowledge.
Pregnancy can happen at any time of the month, any position.
And it can even happen in your first try.
Most importantly, enjoy yourself. Pleasure is one of the best ways to enjoy life and enjoy time with someone.
Thank you so much for watching, and remember that safe,
consensual, and healthy sex
is good sex.
Produced by the National Council on Independent Living and Rooted in Rights, with support from the With Foundation.
So just as a little side note, any videos you watch, we recommend a couple of websites that have videos. If you go here, they have the closed captioning, but if you go to the little gear, you can play back the speed either slower or faster, depending upon the video. So if you're watching a video and you feel like, oh my gosh, it goes so fast, I'm not sure that my child's going to understand it or get it the first time, then you can go to this gear and you can change the speed.
We also recommend if you see a video, or if we send a video as a parent resource, that you look at it first and make sure it really is a fit for your child. And so that you know what is going to happen in the video before you share it with your child.
All right, so here the next few slides are resources. So one resource we highly recommend is Overcoming Inappropriate Behaviors. So this is for children and adolescents with autism spectrum disorders. It's for professionals and for parents as well. It is for everyone. What they do is they go through different behaviors that you may see from your child, and what they give you kind of a perspective on why might this be happening, right? So maybe your child is masturbating in public, and so maybe it's a specific time of day every time. Maybe it's a medical health reason or a medication reason. Maybe their schedule changed, the environment has changed. Maybe they're beginning to go through puberty and they have sexual feelings. Maybe they haven't had the chance to have any privacy, and so they're not sure when to do this, and so they're just practicing, or they're doing it whenever the sexual feeling comes about. Maybe they didn't have the education on public and private and how to handle the sexual feelings. Maybe they have a crush, or maybe they're practicing a behavior, maybe one of their siblings goes and hugs somebody, or somebody goes and hugs a person, and they see a person and they go hug them because they're practicing, how I want to hug somebody, or physical touch. And so but they didn't ask for consent. And so maybe they're just practicing a behavior that they've seen a sibling, a parent, or a classmate even do, and then they're now doing it in an inappropriate place. So it just gives you a different perspective on what a behavior might, why a behavior might occur. But then it also gives you resources on how you can try and change the behavior, how to look at the behavior, and lots of ways to have conversations about it. And then we have these books. It's Perfectly Normal, has comics in it and good information about all the different topics. It's a lot of teen subjects. This Is So Awkward is a relatively new book. Amazing book. It has 4 parts to each chapter. The first part is the science and what's going on in the body. The second part is how things have progressed and changed over the years. For instance, puberty is now starting earlier for both boys and girls. And then how do you talk about the subject? And then what somebody who has just gone through the situation, and what do older kids know, and what do they have to say about it? Just a really interesting book. As we said before, the Boyfriends and Girlfriends Guide to Dating for People with Disabilities. Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, we also talked about. This is about how the pornography affects the brain. This is by Terry Cohenhoven, same author as this book. Teaching Children with Down Syndrome about their bodies, boundaries, and sexuality. This book is for everyone at any age. Again, lots of resources, lots of ways of having conversations. And then this is one of our favorite books. Melissa has it.
Tell me, and it opens up, and my screen is blurred, but there's sticky notes, and I think it's 99 students submitted questions. And this one is, what is so sexy? And then you flip up and it has a very family-friendly answer. What's a prostitute? You flip up, it has the answer. And I wish I had this book when my boys were younger. I think this would have been a great bathroom book. So we really recommend it. But again, you need to look at it and make sure it's okay for you. It's a really fun book.
Then these are different websites. So Talk is awkward talk. You type in a question about relationships, sex, consent, boundaries, and it comes up with an answer. Very simple, easy to read, and easy, nice, clear language. Amaze.org has a ton of videos on every subject. Again, consent, boundaries, relationships, puberty, all the things that come with it. However, some of the videos are very abstract. So we show some of the videos because we think they're a little more concrete. But all their videos are cartoons. And so sometimes it's a little hard to make that connection. So again, like Melissa said, make sure you watch the video before you show it to your child. Scarleteen is sex ed for the real world. So they have articles, they have all sorts of information on pretty much any topic again. They have little one-pagers called quickies, and so sometimes those are easier to read than reading a whole article. The NCIL was the video we just watched, the National Council for Independent Living. They have resources, but they also have more videos. Sex Ed Rescue is a woman from Australia, Kath Hacketson, and she is amazing. Her newsletter is hilarious. Like, she has some great resources, but if you subscribe to her newsletter, she has great starting points on, how to have the conversation about, sex and porn with every age. And then she also lists resources by age. So we love that resource. We use a lot of her stuff in both our teen and adult classes. Planned Parenthood has something very similar to Oktalk. It's a bot called Rue. You type in a question on, sex and any sex relationships into the bot, and then it comes up with your answer. Missing Kids is again the NCMEC and NetSmarts. Love is Respect talks a lot about boundaries, and it's also for what I mentioned, abuse, and it's very similar to RAIN, the
Abuse and Incest National
thank you.
Network.
We get a lot of our information from them about boundaries. It's really a great and easy to read website. Defend Young Minds, that's where the book Good Porn, Bad Porn comes from. And it has a lot of great information, again, how to start your conversations about this. And then Take It Down from NCMEC is relatively new in the last couple of years. If for some reason your child has posted a picture that is not appropriate, then you can reach out to takeitdown.ncmec.org, and they can help try and remove the picture or video from the internet. So that was a really good resource that they have now come out with.
So about EASE, so EASE offers 16-week online course for adults, which includes a parent meeting to talk about what we're teaching, how we're teaching, ask any questions, and a 12-week online course for teens, which includes 2 parent meetings. And there are students from all over the country in the classes since they're online. And each week after we teach on Friday mornings, we send out an email that has all of the videos that we showed in that class, the topics for the next week, and handouts of the actual slides that we use teaching, so that you have the visuals and the wording to go back and look at afterwards as well. We offer staff trainings, parent workshops. We work with different group homes as a group and individually, based on individual needs. Individual behavior support and education. We work 2-to-1 with students referred through schools, therapists, parents, various places. And then we can personalize trainings for any support and education for people who may have become entangled in the criminal justice system, or professional development for agencies, and more.
And that's a great recommendation. That book is wonderful. The Autism Friendly Guide to Periods by Robin Stewart is a wonderful book. There are a lot of different really good books about puberty. And so if you want more resources and you're like, oh, I'm not sure where, we have a huge list of resources. We just gave you a very small a small amount of resources, didn't want to overwhelm you, but if you have more questions about puberty, about, dating. We have a lot of resources on hand and we are happy to share. So thank you. And if you have questions,
Here's our information. Thank you so much for being here today and for watching afterwards.
Arlene and Melissa, that was fantastic information, and I love all the resources that you included. So thank you for that. We have 1 minute left. If anyone has another question, I think Arlene and Melissa would be happy to answer it.
Try to stump us. Happy to share information.
All right, I guess not then, but thank you both so very much.
Thank
thank you
you.
for having us.
Yes.